on my laptop.
Great, good evening. It's 7:02 PM and we'll call this meeting to order. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes from the February and March notes? Any questions, issues, concerns?
What can I change the date, but what's on the drive should be correct.
Which is the ones I printed, the ones off the drive.
Okay.
You want to look at?
It seems so many.
Well, I move to accept the February and March.
Anyone second? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Review and sign bills?
No bills this evening.
No bills this evening. Any board member comments? Only one. I'd like to thank you for filling in for me as the chairperson for our last meeting.
My pleasure. Did a stellar job. Not anytime, but once in a while.
Thank you. New business. I know that there was a discussion on the working group with the CPC.
Yeah, so this is in relation to working out some details related to a funding agreement. It's in relation to the Affordable Housing Trust's kind of request for annual funding in relation to the CPC affordable housing monies that are allocated each year, and submitting an application. So in discussion with CPC, and I think I prefaced it a little bit at a previous meeting with the trust, was looking at developing a working group, 2 delegates from CPC and 2 delegates from the Affordable Housing Trust. What that will do is allow us to kind of work offline to develop some of the kind of working documents of what a draft funding agreement would look like, and some of the logistics of how that would work in terms of if a specific project is then developed, how those monies get spent, and what expectations from the trust and expectations from CPC to kind of hash out some of those details. Those 2 delegates, so we would be able to work kind of offline as schedules are available. We would just be asking that those 2 delegates then return at their monthly meetings and give an update. So CPC would give an update on where the working group is in terms of CPC. They would give that report to CPC, and likewise the trust delegates would give a report each month of where they are to the trust. And just, so that way we bring the work that's been done and the progress that's been done back into the public space for that discussion. That allows a little bit of flexibility to do some of the kind of nitty-gritty work and work out the details that probably aren't useful or more practical to do in these forums or consistent joint meetings. So.
Great. So I know that's one that I would be interested in participating in, but just want to know if there's anyone else here that would like
I would be interested as well. I would choose what was in our form, so I will concede.
Great. Oh, we can vote? No? No? So, chair and vice chair.
Yep.
Will represent.
Do we have to vote on that? It'd probably be clean to do so and just to nominate them as the delegates to the working group.
I move to nominate Hector Cruz and Martha Gannon to be the Affordable Housing Trust 2 delegates for the joint working group for the CPC.
Second.
Well, no, second?
You typed that.
No, right, you or me.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Next on the agenda is review and approve the letter to the select board regarding 11 Elizabeth Street. That was circulated And just wondering if everyone had an opportunity to review it. I know that this was discussed at our last meeting and voted for. I think it covers everything here, just want to give everyone an opportunity to look at it and comment.
And just as a little additional background, so this is something, so we've expended money in the past within the allowable thresholds, but this is just something that I think would be good moving forward to kind of formalize the process, give notice to the select board. Obviously, we're under that 200,000 threshold, and I think I note that in that letter, but just kind of pointing to that so that they're aware of the funds, and it just gives another chance for comment and coordination with the select board in terms of the activities. So give a little bit of pomp and circumstance, but also I think it just kind of leaves a little bit of a breadcrumb trail as well in terms of the funding activities for that. So.
And 21 units, that's a good number of units.
Yeah, and those are conceptual, so I think it'll be interesting to see with the feasibility study when they get into some of the more details of how that'll adjust, if those 21 are indeed feasible, if that number changes, but that was not a conceptual plan, so.
How many units are there now? Where did you know?
Ooh, quiz time,
Approximate.
probably look it up.
More than 10, less than 50.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I was just
That's a
gonna-
challenge. Alright, I'm gonna ballpark. So many now, I guess have more. We're going way back to 20. But those are apartment units, so senior and disabled. Probably more apartment, these are gonna be duplex, more family. Maybe, yeah, did they vote to accept our money?
Yeah, so they met, I believe it was Tuesday, and so they will be moving forward with the trust funding.
Okay. So, I think we're all in agreement with the letter, so.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll print off, before we leave here, I'll print off one without the watermark, and we can, have it signed.
Next on the agenda is the,
Something we have to vote.
Yeah, I would vote on each of these.
On the left.
Yeah, just to authorize the chair to sign on behalf of the trust. Yeah, sorry.
we voted on this.
All right, so
No, that's good. Give it a straight. Yeah, motion on,
We need to vote on the one?
Yeah.
All right, so, you can, go to you, right?
keep moving.
should I do it? Is that, it's being sent to me, can I make the motion? I guess, I don't. I move that we approve, the letter from the Affordable Housing Trust regarding 11 Elizabeth Street funding to the select board.
Second.
In favor? Aye. So moved. Okay, item 5, we're gonna move 3, MHP grant award and update.
So I'm reading my agenda again, and I had meant to add in economic feasibility analysis as well as an update on that, but I'll just touch on both of those as we're covered under that grant award update. So we have 2 MHP grants that were currently awarded. One is our 40B technical assistance, which has been assisting. It funds Paul Haverty, who's the consultant or the attorney that's been assisting us with the Green Street project, helping the board with and staff with kind of the higher end technical assistance and legal support in terms of that process and the 40B process. So that continues to be really helpful. And I think moving forward, we're going to continue to try any 40B to utilize that service. Just a great opportunity to make sure that everything is kind of reviewed, and it does help in terms of crafting the decision and some of those technical documents. Even though staff is pretty well versed at this point, and I think the board as well is pretty well versed in the 40B process. It's always good to have that additional support on there. In terms of the economic feasibility analysis, just a brief update on that. So we do have a consultant that MHP granted to us and is funding through that grant award. So that work has been lined up. We're doing some final adjustments on the compliance model for MBTA zoning that will be sent off and will form part of the basis of the economic feasibility analysis of the actual district. So we're just kind of using that compliance model and trying to finalize that district in order to make sure that it's kind of minimizing the densities in line with our objectives for that. So once that's sent off, we've sent the draft language to them, so they've been able to do some of that work up front. But once that district is sent over, they'll be able to actually do the nuts and bolts of the economic feasibility analysis. They're anticipating a 1 to 2 week turnaround and hoping to have that compliance model finalized by the end of this week, so tomorrow, and shipped off then. So I'm hoping certainly by the end of the month, have that all in hand. So I'll have an additional update in terms of that once we get the final product of that economic feasibility analysis. So just a reminder of the importance of that feasibility analysis. So our MBTA zoning, we're capped at a maximum of, we can only require up to 10% of units to be affordable and to remain in compliance with any district that we do if the town does pass that zoning. With the economic feasibility analysis, we may be able to pursue up to 20% affordable housing, and we can also potentially require lower affordability levels, whether it's the lower than the 80% area median income. So what that does is that allows us to more flexibility in terms of writing our bylaw. Once that feasibility analysis comes back, I anticipate having conversations and presentations with the select board and planning board in terms of the results of those, to have that conversation of, do we want to pursue deeper affordability, greater percentages of affordability, and then move from there in terms of the language that we have, making any final adjustments in relation to that feasibility analysis. So more to come on that, but that's just an update of where we are on those two items.
So just to understand, so with the 10% limit,
Yeah.
right, we're stuck with the 80% AMI.
Right.
And then if we get the EFA, we go up to 20%. And then how low can we go with the AMI?
I believe we can go all the way down to the lowest threshold, which I believe is 20% AMI. And that would be the conversation that we'll want to have with the select board of, are we pursuing those deeper affordabilities? And I think the economic feasibility analysis will certainly shed a little bit of light, and we can go back to our housing production plan, which really kind of digs into the affordability and the challenges around housing affordability in Shrewsbury. So we can look to that for some guidance in terms of what thresholds might be the best and most effective for our community to pursue. Certainly we do see significant housing cost burden, which I presented in the MBTA zoning article. So looking at how we address that. Certainly aware that our housing production plan is based on some outdated data at this point. I think those trends have continued and exacerbated from what we've analyzed of the new census data. But certainly we'll want to take a look at that from the economic feasibility analysis, and we'll review it as well when we have our housing production plan updated.
What can we do to assist with having conversations with the lower AMIs?
Yeah, so I think just at this point, familiarizing with those tables. I think I presented them in they should be on the MBTA slides in one of the previous presentations I actually put up. For a brief discussion of what is housing affordability, those thresholds, what the rents look like, what income income levels are. So like the area median income in Shrewsbury is 122,000. Or that's the Worcester metro area that we use for our analysis. So we're an affluent region. And, you know, so that translates into high income levels as qualifying as affordable. So I think it's important just to kind of refamiliarize with kind of how that works, so that we can really jump into it when we get the feasibility analysis. So I know the trust is aware of those, but.
And the 122, that's for single or?
So that's the area median income. So that's what that does, the 122,000, that's essentially 100% of area median income. So then what that translates into is that they base the formula on number of persons in the household. So I think, for example, it was the 80% at 4 persons in Shrewsbury would be 93,000. So a family of 4 making 93,000 in terms of the household income would qualify for affordable units. And again, those units translate into a 2-bedroom apartment is capped at $1,600 a month, a little bit above that. And you know, that's one of those discussions that even that with those higher income levels, even that rental cap is still difficult to afford. And what I would say is, you know, expect that, you know, with our affluent area and the high rents that we have in the area, any landlord is certainly going to pursue the cap of what they can on those affordable. So very rarely, if ever, do you see anything below that cap. So
It's very helpful because it's for everyone that wrap their heads around, you know, the real numbers, what it would cost for even a family of 4, 90,000, 1,600 plus utilities. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, moving along, the housing production plan update.
yeah, so housing production plan, we're moving forward with that. You know, I know we did discuss with the trust, and in the past have voted for the trust to authorize funding in relation to that. It has been some time, so what I'd like tonight is to essentially reaffirm that vote for the trust to move forward with funding the housing production plan, just because there's been a gap of time as we were looking at, you know, potential other funding options. As a reminder, our baseline funding for this was set at 20,000. So that was essentially a estimate that we received from CMRPC, our Regional Planning Commission. And so, you know, we would set that as our threshold, kind of starting point. We did provide a list of consultants for review if there's other consultants that the trust members are aware of, for us to also reach out to. We're under the procurement at 20,000, so we can just do a scope of work to 3 consultants, and then review those proposals as they come back. So certainly looking at anything under 20,000, that's our kind of starting line. Sorry. Yeah, I believe I added it on there. Yeah. And I'll just memorialize that by kind of listing off who we had for the minutes.
Okay,
For the minutes, yeah. So we have,
Yeah,
so we have CMRPC who gave us that estimate. They do a number of housing production plans for similar communities. We also would like to reach out to Jane Goldson, who the trust is familiar, just completed our action plan and I think did a great job there. We also were looking at Community Opportunities Group, which did our one of our prior housing production plans, the 2012 one. So certainly capable, and I know they've done this work in a number of other communities as well. And then Barrett Planning Group. So Barrett Planning Group has done a number of work projects for the town as well in terms of housing. They actually helped us to formulate the fee and lieu formula and that structure that we use in our inclusionary zoning. So that was from Barrett Planning Group. So they're another very capable outfit in terms of doing this type of work. So that would be so we only need 3, but I think that would be the 4 that we would reach out to. We're happy to reach out to a number of others in terms of that, and just providing a scope of work and trying to get some proposals back for the trust to consider either at their next meeting, or we'll have to think of timeline if we want to do one more month to allow them some time to kind of pull those proposals together. But I might push because it's a very standard process, and I know these outfits are pretty capable. So.
Yeah, I think that, we should, the more folks that we can get to bid on this year, the better. Because I know we have a little challenge the last go around, to capacity. And so I think we'll get 4 or 5 out there, and let's just go ahead and do that. So the existing housing production plan, that expired in March.
Correct. Yeah. Yes, we are a little under the gun to get this done at this point.
So I think if we keep it at the 20,000, just as voted before, I think that we should definitely go ahead and move forward with it. You're missing motion.
Well, yeah, so, and so, and I just wanted, before we move to a motion, I just wanted to mention in terms of the draft RFP. So we're under that, the threshold for an RFP, but we had been working on updating one. And so I did want to showcase some of that work, even though we don't need that for this particular project. Certainly could if the trust felt that it would like to. But I think that's useful, and we can kind of keep that obviously as a working piece for projects down the line that may require an RFP. This provides us a draft to work from. So I just wanted to bring that to the trust's attention, and we don't if there's any initial comments that we'd like to give, or we can certainly come back to this when we have a project that needs it. But in terms of a motion, if there's no other comments, in terms of a motion, I would just suggest a motion to reaffirm the trust's vote to fund the housing production plan in the amount of $20,000 and to submit the scope of work to the 4 identified consultants.
My only hesitation is that the agenda does not say that we were going to take action on that.
Okay.
Hate to delay, but if we already voted on it before, I think that should be totally sufficient.
Right.
My thought.
So we did, and I don't have the exact date in front of me, but it was several months ago.
Yeah, I was looking for it in the notes.
Yeah, that's just my only hesitation, the open meeting law requirements, but I think we would be okay. We already voted on this before, so I don't think that should delay any work that you would do. That's not to be that
I could do this a lot more than just give me a second.
We'll talk about it in February.
We did, I thought, yeah, so I was just looking, we did, thought we took a vote on it.
We did
No.
before that.
In terms of cleanliness, I'm happy to wait a month as well. I mean, I think we have things pretty lined up that, once we get the vote, we can do that. I'd also be happy again that it'll take some time for the consultants to respond back. So I'd be happy to send that off to the consultants and then await certainly the trust vote,
That was November 3rd. That's when we did. But yeah, we'll just move it in there, but, yeah, the vote was on at the November meeting.
Did the list change from the November meeting?
I don't think we provided a list at that time. I think we just voted for the funding. Again, I think that just kind of reiterates, I think what we can do is, we'll wait to vote on the actual funding until, the next meeting. And I can certainly, we'll be clear on the timeline in terms of the, sending out the, scope of work for, request for proposals. So, but a motion tonight that we could do, to, send that scope of work to those four, consultants.
My only hesitation is that the agenda doesn't say review and act or anything,
Okay.
it just says review. So that's my only hesitation.
I'm happy to hold it all until then.
But again, I don't want to delay your work, so if we need a special meeting just to approve this, I would be okay with that. Even if it's just virtual, just to get it through and make sure that we're covered and protected.
Yeah, agreed.
So I would look to you on whatever you think would be best.
Yeah, no, I think if the trust is amenable to a special meeting, I think that, for me, I'd want to do it cleanly, so.
So let's, we could do that anytime, it'll be quick.
It'll be quick, yeah, it'll be very quick, so.
How much notice we need to give?
48 hours, so sometime next week. Monday is a holiday, so either Wednesday or next Thursday.
This is my daughter's birthday, so.
Which time? Which
Which one? She don't know.
17?
I think I'll take the dogs to the vet, so I can get 3:30. I'd be available in the evening, or I'd be available before that.
If we do the 17th.
Are we gonna do virtual? or-
Virtual, 5
It'll be
o'clock.
virtual, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can have 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock is good.
But I prefer virtual, so I'll do it from offsite, so I'll be. We can do that.
Yeah, that works for me, the 17th, that time. I appreciate everyone's flexibility.
Let's get it done right.
Yeah, I'll say.
And then the next item is discuss annual town meeting attendance.
Yeah, so that, I just wanted to have as a quick placeholder. We're getting close to town meeting date, so using this just as a reminder that trust members are looking to attend. I'm happy to post that as a meeting informally, just if more than 2 members are there, just allows us.
Well, each of us are town meeting.
Town meeting.
Yeah, so
Unless I get voted out.
That's true, I mean, I guess that's true.
So what we'll do.
I'll let you know. And you want that? Well,
So I'll work with town manager just to make sure that that is, in terms of logistics, and maybe typically post as a meeting. We don't actually go through any formal process, but just it makes the public aware that members will be there. Again, essentially a quorum, so it's essentially no item agenda.
Okay. Good to know.
Can I just back up just for 1 second? second to, the meeting that we're gonna have on Wednesday. So we're gonna vote on the funding and on the scope of service being sent to the consultants. Is that correct?
Yeah, so those are the two items. So it'd be, vote on the consultant list, to approve the consultant list and then vote to, issue the, scope of work.
And the town meeting will be posted at a meeting just because we'll all be there.
Yeah, I'll check with the town manager's office if that's a practice that they do. I think so. I know I've done that in the past, but
You know, people get me.
no, I'm
sorry.
You're not that.
Not you, I'm looking at
It's a practice that we've done with, just what, anytime board members are in, so we approve the other essentially.
And that's it for you. Everybody's here. Great. Item 6, correspondence. None. Item 7, well, it's confirmed before we go to adjourn. It's, we have our next meeting April 17th, but then our regularly scheduled meeting in May will be on
May 9th.
May 9th. At the same time, 7 p.m. I don't have it on my calendar. So I'll just have to make sure that
Oh, just me. So I will make sure I'll update that, meeting invite to add it on that.
And I'm just gonna put in the select board conference room. That's who then we don't want.
Yes, right, I have the select board booked.
7 p.m.
7 p.m. And with that, item 7, motion to adjourn. So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.